the Nephew and Uncle Basketball Banter. I am joined with my co-host and uncle, as always, David Scholler. Uncle Dave, we're just going to jump right into tournament time right now in the conferences and all the games we've seen up until this point, and then we'll have two topics of just general discussion stuff at the end. But obviously, between yesterday and today, what are some of the games that have you've watched that have stood out to you? Just watched a fabulous Michigan and Purdue game earlier tonight. UNC and Duke had a great game with UNC flubbing at the end on a lane violation, which I got to be honest, that's probably just jitters right there and nerves. What were some of the things that have stood out to you?
Well, today, the Duke game, to blow that big lead like that,
Yeah, Duke
the
was up by
refereeing
20,
down
20 plus. Yeah.
the fouls are 11-5 down the stretch there, and you're sitting there going to the basket, and meanwhile they got guys getting calls, shooting fadeaway. So that kid missing the problem with the free throws, justice in my
Yes.
opinion. But
Yeah.
if you're Carolina, though, it just shows you where that extension you gave Hubert, I think, is a bad when you don't have Brown, you don't have Flag, and you go out there and you get down 24. There's
Yeah,
something wrong there.
there is.
I know
Yep.
you came back and you could say that and all that crap you want, but
Never should be down 20 in the first place, though.
yeah, you shouldn't be flat. I, you know, I really think today for the kids, it's more about whether they connect with you or not. And there's no rhyme or reason to why they connect. There's guys of all ages that kids connect with, but something's missing there. And I'm happy. I'm glad they signed him to an extension. Keep him there forever so we can keep kicking their ass. Uh, Damn Tar Heel punks.
If you're Coach
Yeah,
Shire, though, you must be over the moon, though. You have a good win yesterday. I mean, because that Georgia Tech game, until Flag gets injured there, that did not look
no,
good.
it didn't look good at all. Yeah, they're going to have
Not,
the jitters, and that's what you worry about. Even their first game versus 16 seed, you're going to get some game where you come out, you take a couple of quick shots, and it just it's funny because even tonight, some of their guys didn't play well. Like Evans, you'd think you'd need tonight to be big, and he wasn't that big. So I mean, it goes all different ways, but not a shock that that game comes down to being close. It usually does. The other games I was watching. St. John's beat Marquette. St. John's struggling early, but pulled away late.
yeah, they won 79-63.
Yeah,
So they beat.
defense started to take over.
Yep, yep, that's
Um,
what they do. They wear you down over time eventually.
yeah,
They play them good for a stretch of the first half, but eventually in that second
yeah.
half, they definitely wear you down. Yep.
Creighton is going to beat UConn, but they're up 7 now with 20 seconds left, so that game's going to be over. Right now, Louisville's beating Clemson. Louisville just one of those teams when you watch them, you got to realize they're just better than the sum of their parts. They got 15 new players on that team. They have one walk-on back from last year, scored 2 points. The whole roster is imported, which shows you the difference in the world today.
I
You
think
never could.
they're the best team that's not talked about, Louisville.
Oh God, yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's that they fall perfectly in that category, I think,
yeah. No one's talking about them.
No,
It's an amazing
no.
team.
So I think come tournament time, they might be very happy. Here they are. They're gonna win tonight. So,
Well,
the
again, the ACC, the narrative the last several years is how down we are, and then again, the last 4 years, the ACC has the best record in the tournament. So overall, last 3 years overall, last 4 years overall, if it wasn't for UConn getting 6 wins twice for the Big East, I mean, the ACC would have had the best record every year. So again, they'll underestimate the ACC. So today, for example, they put these two resumes of two teams on the board. And Arkansas is safely in, yet Carolina's got a better net. So I guess the net doesn't mean anything. So if Carolina's net is better, how is one team safely in and the other team probably on the outside looking in? And so why do we have the net? If I'm better than you in the net, but now you're better than me versus quad one, since we started this quad crap, it's totally uneven. Gonzaga didn't have a chance to get a lot of quad one wins. No one in their right mind, non-league, is going to go play Gonzaga. So it's a mess. But if you watch it with your eyeballs, Carolina is 7-2 the last 9. They've lost to Duke twice.
yeah, yeah.
But right now they're finally playing small and they're dangerous right now. Obviously, the whole ACC tournament, we've watched the whole thing. Georgia Tech gave Duke all they could handle for about 30 minutes.
That looked dangerous that game in the beginning right
Yeah,
there, and then
yeah,
Cooper
and then it got
Flag
away.
he has the block shot, and then he goes down with the injury, and then Duke really just it was. I'm not going to say it was equivalent to Moses parting the sea or Jesus walking on water, but it was
Yeah,
miraculous. Duke just totally looked like a different team post Cooper Flag going down, which was crazy.
yeah.
Todd
Uh,
Nipple
this
really stepped up.
Yeah, this Louisville team tomorrow night will be a tough task for Duke, though, because
Absolutely,
they
they will
just
be.
they
They could
they just
easily
keep
bring.
coming.
Yep. Hmm.
They just keep coming. But The funny thing, like I said about that Duke game tonight, though, is that James didn't play that well, Evans didn't play that well, and you still win that game. The big
No, it's
guys played
incredible.
good.
It's incredible. Yeah.
So, Proctor was good. He just didn't get enough shots. Connor, they didn't let Con get enough shots. I mean, and they still won. So, kind of crazy. But
That's the message going
obviously,
into the NCAA tournament. Even if they lose, let's say tomorrow night, John Shire is going to be definitely happy with, hey, look, this is
well,
a team and a complete unit right here. So
yeah, I think they might even rest them the first game. If you're going to get a 116 matchup, I mean,
yeah,
depends. They're not really telling us what kind of ankle. They're not telling us high or low sprain.
no,
It's a high sprain.
I'm sure it
If
was
it's a high
like
sprain, you'd sit him out a lot longer.
right. I'm sure it was the high ankle sprains definitely you definitely
Yeah.
hang on to those longer as far as pain wise.
Obviously, though, I saw some great lower level games this week. I saw some really good games. St. Francis game. I watched them get in the tournament. That was exciting. I saw some of the Robert Morris game. High Point beat my old Winthrop Eagles. Shout out to Winthrop for getting to the final again. High Point first time in the tournament, though. Congratulations. Gonzaga again proves that Mark Few a couple of weeks ago, people were sniping. They beat St. Mary's. It looks like my boys at Merrimack here. Maybe they get in the final if they win that game. They'll be in the final of that tournament. We've been talking about them for the whole podcast. American University in the tournament, so that's good to see. For Colgate had a 5-year run. I watched some of that. Colgate got knocked out early in the tourney. UNC Wilmington is back. They won the CAA. That's Hofstra and Stony Brook's league for the local flavor here. And it's just been great, great, great games everywhere. Like I said, Louisville looks like they're going to pull away in this game here. It looks like it's going to get away from Clemson here. Clemson, I know they're great defensively. Something scares me about them. I'm not sure what it is, but I know they had a great year. But something just, I don't know what it is. I don't
Yeah,
consider them a team that's going to win the whole thing,
yeah.
but what the hell?
27 and
Maybe they
5, 18 and 2. But yeah, I agree with you.
something's weird there.
Right.
And I love them to death. But you see so many of these things this time of year about, well, only this combination of things has had people win in 22 years. And right now, there's 7 teams that meet these things. I mean, and we could talk about it that way you want. Being top 20 and 25 in defense and offense. Like, since 2021, I think 23 teams have won, being a combination of both. And it's like 7 teams right now that fit that. And so, Duke, Houston, all the teams that we'd expect, things of that nature. But yep, Creighton just beat UConn final. So
Yep, Creighton wins 71-62 tonight
I
against.
tell you what, I was hoping for UConn because that Garden would have been nuts tomorrow night for St. John's and
Oh yeah,
Creighton. That
yeah,
would have been insanity.
yeah.
Memphis holds on in their game, 83-80 over Wichita State. They struggled in the 1-8 matchup there. Kind of crazy. Been some, really been not a lot of bid stealers yet. So the bubble teams are lucky. I saw Florida today. Florida looks really good. Clayton looks like one of the best guards in the country.
Yeah.
Michigan State looks really good.
Well, Florida has a pretty
Michigan,
good chance,
Purdue.
like you said, because they have a great backcourt. So Florida will have a chance to win every
And
game.
they have 3 or 4 different bigs who can all give you
Yep, yep,
maybe 10 and 5 on any
that's
given
right.
night.
Yep, yep.
And
That's all you need.
Clayton is the guy though. Clayton's their player. Obviously, Auburn looks pretty good. Michigan State looks good. So what was the final in that Michigan Purdue game?
86-68.
Yeah, they blew them out. Yeah, see, I'm surprised because
Purdue,
Michigan's guards are suspect.
Purdue played pretty good, and Michigan still won by 18. So it was kind of a really not a referendum on Purdue, but Michigan just
Right.
really looked good. Paul, my father, your brother-in-law, he loves Michigan's front court. He loves Golden and Wolf.
Oh yeah, yeah. Wolf's a stud.
The key was
He's a
the key was
Yale player.
the key was Donaldson. He was 5 of 11 from the floor with 13 points.
Yeah.
They get that from him. They'll be tough.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. It's just that Michigan State has treated them like the ugly stepchild lately. I don't know when
Right?
they play them.
They've
They'll
just been
probably get a
yeah, they've been
they'll probably
stomping.
get a chance to meet up again on Sunday. We'll see.
Right.
I
Well,
know
they both
that
handle business tomorrow.
Maryland beat the hell out of Illinois, so that was a spanking. Maryland's one of the hotter teams in the country. No one's talking about either. So it's you know, and of course the coaching carousel in the NCAA right now is in full bloom. Fran McCaffrey let go today.
At Iowa. Yeah,
209
15 seasons there and let go.
296 wins. And it's funny. As soon as the rules changed and Iowa didn't have the money to get the two Murray brothers and Garza, they didn't win as many games. What a shock. And then if Iowa's not going to ante up, then you're not going to get those players anymore.
Right.
The landscape has changed.
So what do you chalk that up, Uncle Dave? His firing there, obviously 15 years. You're
Oh,
there a while. Obviously your family's moved there. You've been there long term now. To let go of a coach like that is at that
yeah, I hate
point.
to say it. It's a lot of,
Tough.
it's a lot of your age. This game doesn't favor the old guy.
Yeah, you were
And
saying that. Yep, true.
I've been saying that all along. And I talked to one of my buddies, Sean, big time Iowa alum. So but they're all gonna try to get the coach from Drake, which is a good move. He's probably the best guy available. But it doesn't help when you're old and you're not winning. But they were 12-4. They got a couple of bad injuries, and then the Big Ten ate them up.
Yep.
They were in every game down the stretch in the last 4 or 5 weeks. But that doesn't, if they're going to go get the shiny new toy, how these schools are, and the alums have a lot to say these days. So they're going to go get the shiny new toy, and they'll see if they like it. And McCullum is a great coach. I think from Drake, I really believe he's the best one available. So yeah, McCaffrey's out. Coach Sanchez, who we knew from the beginning was an interim, he's out. And excuse me. So a lot of merry-go-rounds going. The coach from Minnesota, Ben Johnson, got fired. Alum there, played there. A lot of changing hands right now with the coaches.
Yep. A lot of pink slips now, and when teams get eliminated from tournament time now, and
Oh,
they're on the
sure.
bubble, they're probably gone. So.
Sure.
Game today that really was it's not shocking, I think, actually, because they are damn good. Houston thumped BYU by 20 points today.
And
57.
BYU is one of the hottest teams in the country.
Exactly. That's so beating them by 20, that's an eyebrow raiser because obviously Houston's good enough, I think, to beat anybody by 20, but BYU's been
Yeah.
playing particularly well. And Emmanuel
Yeah.
Sharp, 5 of 7 from three with 26 points, and LJ
Yep.
Cryer with 20 points himself. So I mean,
Yeah. Houston's a team that
ooh,
if they
that's
shoot well, they're going to win because they can guard anybody.
right, right.
But they're still capable of having one of those nights where they go
Where they have
three
a
for
clunker,
20 from
yeah, where
three.
they have a clunker offensively. Yep, it's true.
And if they run into another team that likes to grind like them,
Yeah,
it
like an
could be
Auburn,
interesting.
like a Florida.
Yeah, if Houston gets to play Clemson, it's the first team to 50. I
Right.
mean, it'll be a lot of fun. But it's even Alabama. Again, the three, the reliance on the three, which is so crazy today. By the way, speaking of reliance on the three, Gonzaga beat St. Mary's the other night, 1-3 total in the game, both
How
teams.
about that? How about that?
And the score was 58-51. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you the reliance on the three made that score so low. You'll never see Gonzaga and St. Mary's play a 58-51 game, probably ever. Then they play twice a year. But obviously, the reliance on the three is heavy when it's a 58-51 game. So
No, but
pretty crazy times.
it's proven though you could win that way though. You don't have to have constant.
Absolutely. Well, the
It's
Denver Nuggets a
well,
couple of years ago with Joker won with the least amount of threes in a long time. So it can be done.
no, absolutely.
Um, but then again, it's most teams today. It's obviously a big part of their act. St. John's is obviously not a great 3-point shooting team. And I think they're 28-4 now. So obviously it can be done. They
They
can
play
because
like Houston. They're a grind you out
yeah,
type of team. Which
yeah, and both older coaches, Kelvin Sampson, Rick Pitino, who are going to get after you, and
yes,
they rely on that old defensive pressure.
Auburn's a little bit
It's a
like
little
that
different.
themselves too.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
How about Ole
And
Miss
Auburn,
today, giving them a scare? 57-62. Auburn wins that
yeah,
by 5. But Ole
yeah, Ole
Miss
Miss.
though,
Well, Coach Beard.
how about
We'll
that?
see. We'll see if Indiana reaches out to Coach Beard.
That's the move that
Although,
they should make if they're smart. That's the call they make. Yep.
well, funny thing is, Indiana, if they don't get in, I mean, I don't know. I mean, their bubble might have burst. Ohio State's bubble might have burst the other day. Arkansas was going to get in supposedly, but they didn't perform
All
well.
those
Oklahoma,
teams are a coin flip. You're
yeah, Oklahoma's 6-12, but they're going to get in supposedly. So who the hell knows? But and by the way, in that Duke game tonight, I've never seen that type of lane violation at the end of a game. The kid was obviously in. He was trying to jake the other guys to get in there by giving him that. But little did he know he put his own foot in there.
right.
We've all seen lane violations for hundreds of years, but I've never seen a guy try to do it by getting somebody else and cost his team a chance. So
Yeah.
it's really funny.
One that was that blatantly obvious, and especially at the end of the game, you don't see it usually at that point
Sure.
ever, where
Sure.
like everything's on the line. I think I've never seen a more costly lane violation, I think,
Right.
in the
No,
final
I've never
seconds
seen
of a
one
game.
either.
Inside of
As
10 seconds like that, you just don't see that.
as Joe Lenardi just said, it could be a lane violation that costs you an NCAA tournament. We'll see. But if you're
Yes.
looking at if you're doing the eyeball test, Carolina belongs in as much as it pains me to say that.
Right.
But they've started to play small ball and they're playing better.
And obviously, anytime that they're on, regardless of their record, that's a draw. So
Well,
They'll
because
definitely
their
they'll get
fan
on
base
that line.
travels. I
Yep.
mean their fan base will always travel. It's not like putting one of these teams out there that is not going to travel. Their fan base is going to get there and they're going to do what they're supposed to do. Whereas, you can't say that about every fan base these days. Carolina's fan base always travels.
And I got to say, Michigan State looked really good today. Oregon played good too. They lost by
Yeah.
10, Oregon, but Michigan State looked really sharp. So I think
Yeah, I
Tom,
think Oregon belongs in.
they do. They
Um,
definitely do. 12-8 in the Big Ten and 24-9 overall. They'll get in.
yeah, I mean, they belong. Plus, Dana Altman does a solid job. We'll have to see what happens in the Atlantic Sun. These championship games coming up here because there could be a couple of bid stealers. We'll have to see. So far, we really haven't had any bid stealers. We'll wait and see how it's going.
I
But
appreciate Bruce Pearl being so candid too. I have guards that don't play like pussies. I really appreciated him being so honest about that. On live
yeah,
TV, Jay Williams was hysterical. He's like, "Oh, he thinks he's in the locker room right now."
yeah,
Really great.
yeah. Well, Jay Williams would know he was a great player, and
Oh yeah,
he was a
he
dog.
played under a Mike Krzyzewski where he was probably being called that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, he was a dog, total dog. He's so tough. I mean,
Yeah.
Texas Tech is hot right now. They're a team that's sneaking into the mix here. Arizona looks like they had a good win last night. So I think they're in the midst of a game right now as we speak. Baylor is a disappointing team to me, but they're going to get in. But they have not played well. Very disappointed in them with some of the
They're
veterans there.
underachieving, I think them. I think they're more
They
talented.
are. They're
Yeah,
really underachieving. They got three really good players. They got some veterans. They got an old backcourt. Got a good coach. They're just not achieving. I know the Big 12 is good, but it's not as good as everybody thinks.
right.
Kansas State, I think, kind of played themselves out of this. We got to see. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Sunday, like I said, though, not a lot of bid stealers. It's just going to be a philosophical battle on what you want to see in the tournament, and that's what this is going to come down to.
And Wisconsin,
Um,
post like what we talked about it a couple of shows ago, post Bo Ryan, they still look really damn good. Wisconsin, they thumped
well, the
UCLA.
funny thing is they're playing a totally different style too.
Yeah,
This team scoring in the 90s. They broke a Big Ten record for threes. They didn't used to do that. Bo Ryan used to play the swing offense and did put you to sleep. First couple of years of Mike Guard there, they did that, and now they're not.
Wisconsin's an exciting watch this year. They're a
Yeah,
fun team to watch.
they're up tempo. Ohio State might have played themselves out. Indiana, we'll see, but at least 8 teams from the Big Ten are going to get in, and we'll see what Arizona State and Indiana do. Rutgers played themselves out, like I said, unfortunately for my guys over there. So, like I said, Indiana and Ohio State will be a toss-up. I don't think they deserve to be in. Indiana, maybe. Ohio State, again, 9-11. I'm not hearing that too good. So we'll have to look at that and see. But
It's
we'll have to see what the Ivy League playoffs bring. I think we're still working on that right now. So we'll see where we're at. And the
no,
SEC is going to be interesting.
absolutely. It's going to be exciting tomorrow, folks. All day you have games starting at 11 a.m. So and you go all the way till tomorrow night. So it's an
Oh God,
exciting.
yeah.
All you basketball junkies out there, I expect you to be watching Princeton Yale at 11 a.m. tomorrow on ESPN.
And do yourself a favor and watch those smaller conferences because those are the best games. Most of
Absolutely.
those
Yep.
bid, most of those leagues are one bid
Yep.
leagues.
You got Maine and Bryant at 11 and
Yep.
Princeton and Yale. So that'll be
Most of those guys are not going pro. This is it
nope.
for them.
Nope. It's always fun to watch those teams for that reason alone. Yep.
Yeah, it's life and death, and there's a thing on the internet today about on the Facebook. I was on for the base basketball group on Facebook, and you're just watching one of the Iowa guys check out of the game the other day for the last time, and he's done. It was a sad, dude, but that's and interesting times this time of year. This weekend's gonna be great, and then the bracket comes out Sunday.
Yeah, Selection Sunday is always a blast. So between now and then, it's really just it's chaotic. Your hair's on fire. I mean, it's like you have teams that are playing 5 games in 5 days. It's in some
Yeah, you
cases.
can't sleep. I haven't been able to. I stay up and I watch these games, and then I
No,
got to
you're
get up at
wired.
5. I get up at 5 o'clock for school, but I'm
You
paying
know,
the
you're on
price.
you're on adrenaline rush though, and speed basically.
Yeah,
That's how it's
yeah,
going.
yeah. It's been a fun season so far. It's been very chaotic with the structure of college basketball, but still fun.
Yeah,
So we're
tomorrow
lucky there.
tomorrow in the Big Ten, you're gonna have. I mean, that Wisconsin and Michigan State game is absolutely going to be fun to watch, and then Michigan and Maryland,
Oh
those
yeah,
Big Ten games, that's going to be really exciting. All those teams are playing it great. And tomorrow night you got Houston playing. It's to be determined who they're going to be playing tomorrow night at 6. And Creighton St.
yeah,
John's, Uncle Dave, at Madison Square Garden. That's going to be fun.
yeah. Well, that place will be all in red.
Oh yeah.
Tennessee Auburn tomorrow. Some really good games. Just a lot of fun tomorrow around here. Tennessee or Michigan State, Wisconsin, Dartmouth and Cornell. Dartmouth hasn't been there in years, so this is exciting for them. It's gonna be a hoot. Florida's still waiting for their opponent, obviously, and Duke is looks like we're gonna see Louisville here, but you never know. Maybe Clemson has a late run in them here, but it looks like it's gonna be Louisville.
And then tomorrow you have your last game, I think, on Sunday at 3:30. So you have
Yeah,
five. Let's see, you
Big
have
Ten
5 games.
tournament, I think, is final game.
Yep, you have 5 games in at that yeah in Indianapolis. That'll be the last game at 3:30. So yeah, the Big Ten tournament
Sure,
that'll be yep. So that'll be your last
sure.
game, and the bracket comes out pretty much right after that. So here we are, folks. We're down to the nitty gritty here, and
Yeah.
so we'll wrap that up, Uncle Dave, as far as our college basketball roundup goes, and we're gonna transition to here. Got Danny Hurley, Uncle Dave. He had a 60-minute interview. And can you believe this?
Saw it.
With all of the success that UConn's had in the last 5 years, winning the last two national championships, Danny Hurley had this quote: 50% or more of my roster.
He's right.
He's considering going in the portal, if not already knows what school they're going to. How is that possible, Uncle Dave? How is that sustainable moving forward when you
Well,
have a program as successful as his, where he's saying at least half the roster or more is either, and he talked about in the interview too, is talked already to his staff and is planning out NIL money and everything. I think
yep.
we've hinted at this that this is not sustainable going forward, where teams can contact kids in the middle of a season.
Yeah. Well, the worst where this happened though is where you let this start. Once you let players have agents, now the agent has no loyalty to anything except trying to get more money, so that
Right.
way they get a bigger piece. And all of a sudden you have all these people. So let's just use a simple math here. Before you had, say, let's just pick for numbers' sake so we can talk about this logically. Suppose you had 100 agents in the NBA. Well, there were none in college. So now all of a sudden you have 450 agents in college now, just to be conservative. I mean, so these guys were agents that couldn't become agents before, a lot of them, or some of them I'm sure just were starting out. But now you add 450 people into the mix that maybe weren't the best people, or else they maybe would have been an agent already in the NBA. And now you put them on a kid who's 18, 19, 20 years old with parents who live in a culture of me, and screw we. And I say this every year at the parent meeting myself, we're coaching a we game and it's more of a me society than ever. And it's just, I don't know if it's 50% in his case because he has a successful program, but I gotta be honest with you, I can honestly tell you that most kids could care less if you're having success. They're gonna want to get what's best for them, and in some ways I understand that, but in other ways, like you'll never be able to improve or grind it out if you're always going to be looking for something else.
Well, that's the thing that he
So
basically was hinting at. It's that how are you building a program? How are you building a future when it really is year to year now. It's no joke. I mean, it always was even in the scholarship era. You could argue
sure,
that, but at least players and coaches, everybody was invested kind of together. You basically were having to buy into a program, and they were coaches and a staff were having to sell you on a vision. And I know the scholarship, like you were in college basketball, you know this, it's year to year, but anybody worth their salt, they're giving you 4 years to
right.
be in their program. And I
Well,
think that you don't have that now, that bond has been broken now, and now it's just the Wild West we're dealing with
well,
here.
to give you an example, much different level, obviously in the high school level. Arizona beat Texas Tech, much different. But like right now, I know my strengths and my weaknesses for next year, and so I'm trying to plan accordingly.
Exactly
If
right.
I don't know who's coming back, I
You
have
have no
no
idea.
freaking
Yeah,
idea.
how does your off-season program supposed to be
The
developed?
fact that somebody's allowed to be contacted in the middle of the season is
Uh,
disgusting.
no, that has to stop. You have
It
to
is
have
totally disgusting. It's the same thing for the coaches. This should not be taking place until this is all over. So there's coaches who've been contacted while they have other jobs. They should not be allowed to do this either. This is a disgrace. I don't care if it's the way. I don't want to hear the bullshit answer. Well, just the way it is. That's not a fucking good answer.
no.
It's like when your mom says clean your room and you're like, why? No one's coming over to see my room. And she goes, well, because. Because isn't a good fucking answer.
Right.
So the bottom line is that's a bullshit answer. They should not be allowed to contact these kids. If you do it as an agent or another school, you should be fired from your goddamn job. This is crap. You're talking about young people, 18 to 22 years old, who are about as stable as, the wind. You don't know what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah, I think
And
with
now you got and these people, again, where these 450 agents, if we just pick that number around a couple hundred, obviously, where those agents come from? What kind of
yeah,
qualifications
what's
do they have?
what's what's their pedigree? What's their background exactly? I
Yeah,
think it's
what's their business background? I bet you half of them have never passed. Like to be an NBA agent in the past, you had to have a finance degree, you had to have some knowledge of contracts and law, and some of them are lawyers. And now all of a sudden, you just took a bunch of people who call an agent. So, like, what is the guy in the corner an agent now? I
yeah, I
guess he
think
says he's an agent. Like, who are these damn guys? I was reading today that Shaka Smart does not talk to other teams' agents, his players' agents. He won't talk to them.
I
So,
respect that.
which now I'll be rooting for Shaka Smart because that's what I love to hear.
Yeah, no, that
So the thing is, you know, I just don't understand how nobody policing this is a good thing. It's disgusting. And the NCAA, this is an easy one. If you want to get some credibility back for the NCAA, which in most people's eyes you can't, this would be an easy one. There has to be deadlines. April 1st, period. No talking to anybody till April 1st. Coaches or anything else. It's total crap. And you can't declare the portal till April 1st either. It's real simple. You pick a goddamn line in the sand for the coaches. You pick a line in the sand for the players because everybody goes, oh, well, you have to let the coaches be contacted. They're trying to get players. Well, no, nobody's allowed to be talked till April 1st. It's bullshit.
right. It's one thing if
Or-
you're recruiting high school kids. It's another thing
right.
if you're actively seeking out a college player that's on another program's roster. That's
Yeah, well, it started way back in the day when guys would steal each other's high school commits, but this is even worse now. You
yeah,
got a
that
guy on a
that this is
roster.
this is 1,000 times worse than that.
And I'm sure I'm probably doubt that Dan has half his team gone because he is Danny Hurley, and who wouldn't want to play for him? But if you're not having great success on his team, he's got to be hard to play for because he's tough. While you're winning, you might tolerate it, but I can't say how many people can tolerate that. He's a tough guy. But I just feel like
What I don't understand is there's got to be some kids that are smart enough or have enough forward thinking where if let's say you're a kid and you play 4 years in his program, regardless of what success you had, to think you could have him as a contact or a connect dealing with him for 4 years, you telling me he wouldn't respect that? Absolutely, he would. I'm sure he
he
would
would, but
you'd walk
I
through
agree with
fire,
you.
I
But
think,
don't,
for someone
yeah,
like that.
but don't forget, there's people telling them all around them that
Yes,
they're
you
wonderful.
better. Right, exactly.
When you're that level of player your whole life, you never struggled in high school,
Right.
you
He's
never
fucking you.
struggled.
He's holding you back. I'm sure it's all that.
Yep, you're the best guy in the state, or you're one of the best guys in the state. Everybody held you back. No matter what, you're all going to the league, and you're not. It's a disgrace. It's the same old joke. Everybody's projected to be a mid-level first rounder. How many mid-level spots are there in the first round?
Yeah.
It's the same old shit. It's like the NBA draft stuff
Like
when
you
it comes
said,
out. Oh, he's a mid-level.
there's 50 guys who say you're a mid first round pick. Well, there's only a couple spots for mid round picks. So then
Exactly. There's only a
not
couple of
everyone's a
numbers
mid
that
round
could be
pick.
mid. Yeah, but that's my point.
Yeah.
Someone feeds you bad information. These guys believe this crap. Alabama blowing out Kentucky. And the thing is,
You got to watch the Lenny Cook documentary for those of you that haven't seen it. There's this sleazy agent. It looks like something out of Central Casting with the slick back hair. He
yep,
says, "Oh, I have 5 teams that want you in the first round." Well, the guy, he doesn't go to prep school. He doesn't do the right thing. He sits out a year. He goes undrafted. Then the guy basically he's living out of his his mom's basement. Then after that, so
rated higher than LeBron.
yeah, exactly. And Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony. This guy didn't play.
Hiding. He was hiding at best. He was hiding at 5-star. Didn't want to do the drills.
Yeah, yeah. So it just shows
Unbelievable.
if you get bad advice, and you've seen this, Uncle Dave, how many times? I'm sure
Oh
numerous
God.
guys get the wrong advice, and it just craters their career. You never hear anything about them after that.
Well, one of my favorite kids I ever coached. We had him basically a full aid and package to go to Brockport, which is a Division III powerful program, and Dad thought he would still be able to get more. He said, "Well, we're not getting enough." I'm like, "Guy, you're going to pay about $5,000 to $10,000 to go to Brockport. It's a pretty good deal for a
Yeah,
Division III basketball player."
absolutely. You're not going to beat that. Like that's essentially a lottery ticket right there.
Yep. And instead, you wind up going to an NAIA program and in the middle
Where
of
they don't
Tennessee,
post the
and
stats.
yeah, they didn't even have an SID to post the stats. I couldn't follow his career. He had 4 coaches in 4 years.
Yeah.
So
So you're
you
just in
tell
a
me what you got
dilapidated
out of it.
situation. Yep.
But everybody thinks their kid is some different level, and you can always find someone to tell you.
Yep.
That's why the trainers are a tough situation too, because yeah, they're gonna, of course, they want you to keep coming back. So it's a tough situation. Someone's always telling them how wonderful they are, and it's I don't know. It's so easy to tell a kid exactly where they're at by comparing them to a player that is in their peer group and what level they're at. And
Well, that's the thing. You've been around someone like you. You've been around so much basketball. You have multiple examples, I'm sure, of kids who were in a similar situation, or
yeah,
you've seen a kid exactly in almost
yeah,
the exact same type of predicament, and you could say, hey, look, this is a realistic chance or a possibility for you here, based on what I'm seeing here,
yeah.
and not
And
everybody
you
wants.
know, I always tell it. I'm in touch with one of my former players now, whose son's being recruited, and he's like, "What do you think?" I go, "Oh, I'd go with the school that contacts me the most. They don't want to want you.
Right?
It's
Yeah,
not,
absolutely. Just be logical, right? Yep.
it's not. Yeah, I know they're D2, but so what? It's like, like what are you
What's the
waiting
stat,
for?
Uncle Dave? What is it? 99% of high school basketball players don't play college basketball. That's a
Yeah,
that's
1% play D1, 1% play D2, 1% play D3.
So 3% only of high school basketball players play at the next level. That just goes to show you if you're a college basketball player, you're a validated player. Now people get caught up on what level they're at and everything.
And
They
when
get
there's money, and when there's money exchanging hands, I get it.
yep, yep.
But like, the South Dakota kid already declared he's in the portal. I mean, the portal hasn't started yet officially, but it's just we got to stop this bleeding. And if you want to, the nil and stuff, paying the kids, I'm all right with it. But we got to sit here and figure out that we got to do something for deadlines. So coaches can't be calling other people's kids,
The deadline thing
agents
I
can't
think
be
is a good
calling.
way to do it. And you have to be hard. If someone breaks the deadline, you have to smack the shit out of them on that.
And
That's
here's the thing.
punishments
So
for
for
that.
me to coach AAU, who's coached for 30 plus years, I have to take all these bullshit classes and stuff like that. But yet any old asshole could be an agent and start calling a
Right.
kid around.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, like what qualifications do they have to have?
Right. Yeah,
What
no
are the
one's checking.
qualifications of these agents?
I think you're going to have something eventually coming down the pike where it gets really ugly with one of these agents, like you said. It's going to be something that's going to be on American Greed one day. That
Yeah,
type
I
of
mean, I want to know what qualifications these agents have.
yeah. Those
Well,
are they're the dark suits hiding in the shadows there. That's what's happening
yeah,
right
why you hang out in the gym and you know ball? Is that your fucking qualification? I mean, give me a break.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a sleaze
It's
operation.
it's
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 something
so
at a hooper
scary.
where the one guy was bringing kids down to the school, and if they didn't work out, then they basically were shoveling off to the side, and there was
Yep.
no consequence or punishment for that. It's probably going to be similar with this.
Well,
But
yeah, it's just I just the calling the kids while they're on another team is
yeah, you
really
can't have that.
disgusting.
But
And the nil situation it's a total mess.
Danny Hurley though, it's that situation though is even really peculiar because they've literally won the last two national championships. So it's not like he had success, 30 years ago, where this is a situation where Indiana's living off the glory days from Bob Knight or anything, and you're trying to recruit a kid on that. He's actively been the best coach in college basketball now for
Yeah.
however
Oh,
long you
definitely.
want to say, last 5 years, whatever. But
Definitely.
this is not like this is distant memory. This is literally this just happened, and you have half your team wanting to get out of your program when you've won the last two national championships. It just seems completely absurd to me.
Well, you remember a couple of years ago that the guard for Duke is his father took him out because he didn't put his son in. Coach K didn't put his son in enough
Tough
pick and
pick
roll
and rolls. Right.
situations.
Yeah, Wendell
So you
Carter, his mother thought he wasn't handling him properly
yeah
too. Yeah.
yeah. Clemson's come back and cut it to two here. Louisville's going to the line. Incredible.
A lot
But
of
the thing is, like, yeah, but the pick and rolls at Duke was just insane because so more basketball than Coach K. And again, that guy is nowhere to be found now. Went to a couple of different schools, nowhere to be found. I bet you didn't get a degree. Meanwhile, you would have had a Duke degree and played for Coach K. And like you said before, that's a hell of a contact, I would think,
absolutely.
to have Coach K on your reference
Look
list.
at someone like Chris Carrawell. All right, he played 4 years,
One of my favorites.
and now he's an assistant at T-Set for life. You're
Yep.
living in you're living in North Carolina, and you're an assistant at Duke. That might be the best job in America, honestly, being the assistant, not even the head coach.
Right. One of my favorite guys of all time. He improved every year. He's one of my favorite Duke players. He's
That's the thing I think kids are understanding now. It's that obviously they're clearly not, but you give 4 years to a program and you bust your ass and you're loyal.
yep.
That school's going to take care of you, especially at
Yep.
this high of level. There's no doubt.
Well,
And
if the coach is real, so many coaches, I hate to say it as a coach myself, you see a lot of guys who
oh
don't
yeah, there's
keep
some
track
guys
of the
that get
kids.
yeah.
They don't keep track of the kids' academics and stuff like that. But
Yep.
um, you know, it's just scary. But you see it all the time. It's bad advice from people again, and and just watch the way the parents act at even the high school games on on a local level here, and Long Island is not a basketball mecca by any means, and the level of ball is decreased over the years, but you would never know it by the parents. They think their kids should be, getting all this recruitment. And when you say, well, who's contacted you? And they look at you and they're like, nobody. I'm like, well, then maybe you ought to think about that.
Right.
And again, one of my favorite quotes in America is, you don't know what you don't know. And they have no idea what they don't know. So it's the level they belong at and the level they think they're at. Like I said, anybody can watch this Louisville Clemson game here and think, well, I could hang in there with those guys. Well, go deal with those guys in person and see if you can hang with them. They'll kill you. They're too strong, they're too big, they're too quick.
Yeah, you have to get down on game level on the floor
Yep.
and see what it's really like, and the speed and the aggressiveness and the skill. It's totally different
Sure.
when you see it at that level versus when you're 10 rows back even. Just a
Yeah, the strength and it's just
perspective.
the size and
Oh yeah.
just everything about it is
Yeah.
just it's
Oh, it's
totally
different.
insane.
Different world for sure. Going to move on, Uncle Dave, to our last topic here. LeBron James confronting Stephen A. Smith. Not at the end of the game, by the way, in the middle of the third quarter. And LeBron's gripe with Stephen A. is that he was basically what LeBron said. He was criticizing his son too much. So, Uncle Dave, what do you think
This
of
is why
LeBron?
LeBron's not the greatest ever. He's soft mentally. He always has been soft mentally. I mean, I
He's a
hate to
man
say it.
child, I think, at this point. You could
Yeah,
honestly
he's a,
say
he's
that.
he's a, he's a top 10 player of all time. He's definitely in the discussion, but anybody who's, everybody who's under 25 thinks he's the greatest ever, but they also think that basketball is the vet. You never saw this just petulant bullshit from Jordan. And you never saw this petulant bullshit from Magic or Larry Bird. Just came out and kicked your ass. They didn't care about it. This guy is way too sensitive. So your son is now a professional athlete, and he
Exactly. He's
should
not
be.
he's not 6 or 7 years old. He's a pro now.
Exactly.
He's fair game.
But LeBron's the same guy who, when he'd go to his son's AAU games, used to get in the AAU warm-up line.
I know.
Now, a lot of people
And
go, oh, that's such
yeah.
a great dad. I go, no, he's
No,
not a
it's
great
not.
dad for doing that. He's a selfish prick for doing that.
Exactly
The
right.
AAU game is not about LeBron
No,
James.
it's him wanting to be noticed in that moment. There's no doubt.
And that's why, again, that's a mentally soft thing. Jordan could give a shit. After the game, Jordan's ducking into the tunnel. He don't want to deal with you.
That was the one
He,
thing about Michael Jordan that you have to respect. You didn't hear him talk about his son or anything like that ever. You never
yep,
heard about it at all, ever. Never
right.
vouched and said LeBron was saying when his son was in high school that he was better than current NBA players. I,
Yeah,
you're a fool because now he's in
yeah,
the NBA. He's clearly not an NBA player at this current time.
no.
I think he could be eventually, if he gets developed right, he could be maybe a rotational player off the bench. I'm not saying he can't be that eventually in the future, but we talked about it, I think, briefly. He's 6'2" with a bad heart, and he's not a shooter, and he's not a
Yeah,
great.
you're a shooting guard who's small, who doesn't have a handle and can't play point, who's a bad shooter with a bad heart condition.
Right, right, right.
I mean, this guy doesn't get drafted now because, well, it's only number 51. Doesn't matter.
No,
There are guys better than him.
that's still a spot that would have went to someone else that was more
Yeah.
deserving, no doubt.
So this is again one of the many reasons why he's not the greatest ever. He's not even close either. Why do we just leapfrog some of the other guys and make it him versus Jordan? I got news for you. He's not better than Kareem either.
Right,
Not
right.
better than Wilt. Not better than Kareem. I'll take Joker over him. I'll take Magic over him. I'll take Bird over him.
And but Stephen
You
A.
know,
said he was on a Gilbert Arenas show and he said I thought it was weak. I thought it was some bullshit, and I totally agree with that. By the way, I think it
yep, it
definitely
is.
was.
Stephen A. at
And
least will
and
tell you what he thinks.
right, and I think for LeBron to do this in the middle of the game with his uniform on still, I think that even makes it 1,000 times worse. It would have been bad even if he was in a suit after the game or before the game and he did this. To do this in the middle of the game, I think that is absolutely just you look ridiculous and very, very,
Yeah,
very childish
I
in that.
agree. But that's my point. Like you're weak mentally to be worrying about that in the middle of the game. I don't get how you could be worried about that in the middle of the game. Wow, Clemson guy just got hammered going to the basket down two. Now they had to foul, and now it's a 3-point game. Wow, that's a bad non-call by the ref. The refs have been awful today, I have to say. Now they're trying to shoot a three at the buzzer. He missed. Oh, Louisville's going to win. Yep, terrible refing. Just terrible. Terrible refereeing down the stretch of this Clemson Louisville game. It's a disgrace. Just terrible. I don't know. So Louisville's gonna be tough for Duke tomorrow night.
Yeah, that'll be a good one for sure.
Yeah, so that LeBron thing was just a disgrace. I mean, I can't believe it, I can't believe he did it in the middle of a game. To me, that's the most shocking part.
Right. Yeah, it's not like I said, it's not like before or after the game. Doing it in the middle of the game with all the action going on, and again, all the
Yeah,
eyeballs.
like what are
You're
you
telling
doing?
me that what you're telling, and again, someone had to pick him out. Stephen A. Smith is in the arena here, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go confront him." Or, it's just totally ridiculous. I think.
Yeah, I'd say he's a bitch.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think he oftentimes comes across as very insincere. LeBron, obviously, watching him play, it's like watching Picasso paint. He's an
Right.
incredible all-time player. Not taking
Yep.
anything away from him, but for instance, like LeBron, he's always has a book in his hand, but it's never more than 20 pages in of
Right.
any of the books
Yeah.
he's reading. So he's basically just wants to posture that he's reading.
Yeah.
He's really not, and he's
Well,
gotten
that's the thing.
he said he's
And
a
again,
movie aficionado, and a reporter asked him, "All right, what's your favorite quote in The Godfather?" And he's like, "Oh, he's like, it's like the movie's like 6 hours long. There's so many, I can't pick one." And it's like, all right,
yeah,
obviously don't know The Godfather. Then
you're full of shit. Yeah.
you can't tell me one. So
Yeah. Well, the thing about him is
just it's
he's a
those
guy
kind of
that,
things adding up with him, I think.
yeah, he cares what everybody else thinks and he puts his hand in things that it shouldn't be in. Whereas the all-time greats that I've watched, they didn't give a shit what you thought.
Right.
They just kick your ass. They're secure in themselves. This guy constantly has to prove that, like it shows that he's insecure every day. And he's done a lot of great things in his life, obviously, but Jesus, I mean, those other guys were just assassins. This like Kobe's was an assassin. This guy is just not.
Yeah,
Great player,
there's
no
some.
doubt.
I think he definitely has a soft spot in that regard for sure.
Yeah,
And
and then mentally at the end of a game, if I know I can rely on that, I'm going to get in your ear.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
He
think
he's had some scary moments in finals games too, where the fourth quarter against Dallas in Game 6, nowhere to be found.
I think
Never,
it's his off the court behavior, I think, and his antics post his second go around with the Cavaliers. I think once he got to the Lakers, I think a lot of people really started to dislike him because, like I said, he was interjecting his son in a bunch of things. When he had the quote of saying that his son is a better NBA player than a lot of NBA players, I thought, okay, now you're totally lost your damn mind here.
and again, he says that for his ego. It's not for your son's benefit. Now you've
Oh,
made it harder for your
and
son.
what everybody says about the kid, he's a good kid, his son, so it has nothing to do with him. You're setting him up personally there. He's not
Yeah,
ready
he's
to be
not
an
good
NBA
enough.
player. Exactly. He's just
He
not.
shouldn't even be in the NBA. He shouldn't even be in the G League either. He's not good enough.
No, so we'll see eventually what happens with that. But I will say this, I think Stephen A too. I think that he said on ESPN, he's like, oh, he was a little too wishy-washy, I thought, with it. He's like, oh, when LeBron was speaking to me, he's like, it was coming from that of a father. Then he got on Gilbert Arenas' show, which is very, how should I say, very raw and
Not
unfiltered.
censored.
Exactly, raw and unfiltered. Then he's like, "Oh, this was some bullshit and it was weak." It's like, okay, Stephen A, you should have said that on ESPN. Maybe not like that because obviously
Can't.
it's cable television, but you should have said it along those lines without exactly saying it that way. But I'm like, all right, he flip flops a little too much for my liking, Stephen A. So I wish he would have been more upfront about it on his ESPN show than the Gilbert Arenas version. I thought was really what he was believing, but on ESPN he was basically self-censoring there, and he gave it to have a
Sure.
different spin. And probably they obviously want to be LeBron friendly ESPN. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Stephen A. just got extended by ESPN too, I believe. So he's not gonna yeah he's not gonna get crazy about it. But obviously, yeah, he held off a little bit with his examination. But like you said, he can't say certain things on ESPN. But ESPN is the LeBron programming network. So yeah, I guess he wanted to hold off there for whatever reason. But you know, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how LeBron handles the end of his career here because he is such a sensitive person. And like these other guys were a little less sensitive.
And there was also Dwight Howard had a statement recently. He was on a show where he basically said that LeBron got him off the Lakers because Dwight basically called him a bitch for not running back on defense, and basically
Yeah, well, we have video of that. Yeah,
LeBron
LeBron not running back.
LeBron got him out of there. I mean, if that's true, that really is bad. I was thinking of it the other day at work. I was like, I'm sure there were times where maybe not like that, but maybe even like that. Who knows? Where Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, I'm sure, where if they were challenged by one of their teammates, I'm sure they would have taken it on the chin or they would have responded back. But I'm sure they wouldn't have tried to get the guy thrown off the roster, though. I think it's a referendum on him because Dwight was still very very talented at that point. You could have used him.
Yeah,
So I don't know why you would be anxious to get rid of him at that. And again, he has enough cachet, Dwight. I think he's a guy. I'm sure we'll eventually get into him. I'm sure in future podcasts where he might have underachieved in our eyes, actually, but he still was a very good player in this league, and a borderline Hall of Famer, and a multiple All Star. Where if he says something, you should have an open ear. And for LeBron again to kind of act like that, I thought was again not the right thing there at handling that situation as well.
yeah. I mean, we have a ton of video proof of LeBron not running back on defense. I mean, we have LeBron not sitting with his guys in the huddle. We got all kinds of stuff. And the Stephen A thing is just one more thing. And I have to say, though, there's nothing more annoying on the planet than LeBron James fans. They're the most uneducated people I've ever met in my life. They think basketball was just invented in '03. Like the other day, Junior Bridgman passed away. Junior Bridgman is a guy who came off the bench and 7 years in a row averaged double figures in this league. That is incredible. Uh, Also on those good Milwaukee Bucks teams that could never get past the Sixers or the Celtics in the '80s. Those are great teams. Had Terry Cummings, Junior Bridgman, Bob Lanier, Sidney Moncrief, Marcus Johnson, some of the greats. And they just kept running into the Sixers or the Celtics, and then those teams would play the Lakers, and that's the way it was. But Junior Bridgman, these LeBron fans have no idea who the hell that is.
Yeah.
So I put it on the NBA's greatest page, just the group I'm on, and I comment. I go, "How many of you guys know him out here?" And I go, "If you're a casual, you don't know him."
Yeah, I
Not
saw the
one
post.
person responded.
I saw the post you made on that. Yeah.
Yeah, because not one person responded. And Junior Bridgman, the best thing about Junior Bridgman is then he goes out and basically gets on the ground floor of Wendy's and becomes a billionaire.
Yeah. I think it's important to
Uh,
point out too, LeBron early in his career was a very good defender too. It's just
Absolutely.
he's not to
Right.
extend his career, he's not prioritized playing defense. And that's basically if you watch him play now, it's essentially 4-on-5 now.
Oh
When
yeah.
on the defensive end, the Lakers. He
And
basically
the you saw Oliver Miller died too.
yes, Oliver Miller, rest in peace to Oliver Miller. He was an 11-year NBA player. And you know what, Uncle Dave, it's one of those things where you're not surprised. He was just way too heavy, 280
Yeah.
pounds,
So
at
skilled.
6'9".
Oh my,
Yeah.
the most skilled him and Troy Jackson, the two most skilled heavy guys I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
They both could just so skilled.
he was on the Phoenix Suns team that went to the NBA Finals against the
Yep.
Chicago Bulls.
Yep.
He went from there. He was on the Pistons for a
Yeah,
season.
once he left them, he went downhill.
Yeah. His best. Well, he actually had his best scoring season with the Toronto Raptors in '95
Right.
and '96. But his most important playing days, obviously, with the Phoenix
Yeah.
Suns the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, he was a so skilled player. Played for Arkansas in college. Played in some really good teams. He was just a really good player, and
What's incredible about his career, Uncle Dave, is he has his last season before he has a 4-year hiatus is in '99 and 2000 for the Phoenix Suns. He doesn't play for 4 full seasons, and then he plays 48 games for the Timberwolves in 2003, 2004. I don't know what happened to him in those 4 years there, where it says he played in another pro league, so I guess he was overseas.
he's in Europe.
Yep, and then he came back for one season for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had Kevin Garnett on that team. And that Timberwolves team was a playoff team, so he finished
Yeah,
his.
and he was a guy that back in those days he wouldn't. Yeah, he wasn't really allowed to do what he could do today. If he played today, he'd be allowed to shoot
I think
threes
it's
and things of that nature.
also important to note that he was listed as a power forward slash center, but 6'9". So again, good size, but a little undersized for that center position there.
Yeah, O could jump though, and O could also you could not get around him. And so offensively, center wise, he was a tough
No,
guard.
you're not going to move him because he's literally 280 pounds.
And he was a good passer. Defensively, yeah, he could block a shot, but he wasn't good on the ball defender. So he did have problems on that end of the floor. But it's sad, 54 years old. He's younger than me. So that was sad. But Oliver Miller was a very good player, and so we lost him and Junior Bridgman this week, and a ton of good coaches lost their jobs this week. So it's always a little sad this time of year. But at the same time, it's unfortunately it is a business,
Part of it.
and it's the way it goes. And so we had some great we had some good county finalists crowned this week. Amityville won the A's, the double A's. They won. Triple A's was Half Hour Hills East beat William Floyd. Single A's, Mount Sinai pulled off the upset and beat Southampton, so that was good to see. Mount Sinai get on there, get Coach McNeely get his county title. So a lot of basketball going on right now, so it's been good.
Yep, we got a full slate tomorrow. Uncle Dave, maybe we run it back tomorrow night because we are in
We're
it right
deep
now.
in.
Yep, we're mid-March right now, so this is prime time for us right now. So I
Yeah.
think I have a couple more discussion topics that we could use tomorrow, and then obviously talk about the full slate of games that we have tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow
Yep.
night.
And then we got to lock in for Sunday. Got to get
That's right.
scheduled time
That's
for
right.
Sunday
That's
after the
right. That's
bracket.
right. Yep. So we'll maybe have after to the games tomorrow night, like a preview of what we're thinking is going to happen.
Sure.
So that's what I'm.
Sounds good.
All right, all you basketball fans out there, live long and prosper, and may the force be with you.